Well, that was dramatic. Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, I suppose I should say, the pigeon did die. I confirmed, no pulse and all that. So yeah, sadly, a pigeon just flew into my window and died. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, for Shroom joining us, I was just doing a stream, it's going great, and then bam, pigeon flew into the window, and it was still alive for a couple of seconds, but then it just died. I didn't know what to do. I was thinking like, am I going to have to take action into my own hands here, put it out of its misery? I was kind of prepared to do that, and then it just died. So yeah, crazy. All right. Hello, David. How you doing?
Why don't you kill yourself, mate? Fucking faggot.
Fair play. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I should just sack off the stream anyway. We had like 50 people, and now it's kind of winding down. So, yeah, I just thought I'd come on and let you guys know that the pigeon died. It died not on impact, but it died within like a minute or two. Kind of a shame that, we can't tell the rest of the stream, but, whatever, I guess. It's not that important. Right, you know what? Screw it. I am going to go offline. So, thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for joining. Check out the movement on the website. Join our Discord. Join our WhatsApp. And ensure that no pigeons are born just to die ever again. And no other life. Help us abolish pigeon death, all death. I'm kind of tempted to joke about it because that's my human nature. But, that pigeon did suffer terribly, right? It was lying on the ground, having hit my window, and it was writhing around in agony. It took a minute or two to die, and that was probably a horrible experience for it. So, it's not funny, and it won't have been funny for that pigeon, right? You wouldn't want to have been that pigeon dying, right? Bleeding out, in horrible pain. Your organs are shutting down. You've probably snapped your neck or something. It would have been horrible for it. So, we see suffering like this and we say, oh well, or what can't have been that bad. We always try to downplay the suffering for our own emotional comfort. Timothy is asking, what happened to the last live? As I was doing a live, a pigeon flew into my window and basically snapped its neck. It was still alive for a couple of minutes. I went out thinking, do I need to put it out of its misery? And as I was about to attend to it, it just passed away. And I checked, and yeah, it was gone. Pretty crazy to see, wild animals suffering while talking about it. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, yeah, I'm good. So I have two questions, and then I have three questions, but the last one is like outside of me trying to debate your movement, basically.
Okay.
So I'll ask a set of questions, right? And basically, I want you to respond yes or no. If I say the word how, then can you give like a brief explanation?
Right, go for it. Let's do it.
Okay. Would you say feelings are subjective?
You see, for me, that's a loaded question. That can mean different things.
Like emotions.
Yeah, but for me, when you ask a question like that, all sorts of different possibilities and contexts and different meanings and specificities open up, right? So you're gonna have to be more specific.
Would you say biologically we are distinct in terms of how humans can have different feelings toward different things?
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Okay. Do you think someone who has no empathy or love for life in the universe would follow this movement? Yes or no?
Can you ask the question again?
Do you think someone who has no empathy or love for life in this universe would follow this movement? The extinctionist movement?
No.
Okay. Is love something that you can only experience whilst you're alive?
Yeah.
So having love towards others brings this movement to like fruition then?
I would say it's about caring about others, and it's about wanting the best world, the perfect world for everyone. Most people don't want a perfect world. They don't want a better world. They don't want a fair world, and that's why they're not fighting for it, because they see it as a threat to themselves.
Okay, all right. So love can lead to something good, which is extinction. Because, for example, you love or you care for other life forms. So therefore, you agree with this movement, and this movement you want. Hopefully, it will lead to extinction, which is good in your eyes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if love is good, then would you say goods are necessary to get rid of bads like suffering? So, for example, love, like, or care, for example, let's use care because you used the word care. So you care for other life forms, and that's good. That's a good right, and that's a necessary thing to get rid of bads, which is suffering. Because if you didn't care about any life forms, this movement wouldn't take place or anyone in the world if no one cared.
Yeah.
Okay. So because feelings are subjective, different people can have different emotions on a biological scale. And love is good and love is necessary to get rid of bads. Then my question is, how is someone morally wrong if they are biologically distinct from your movement and has love towards something else?
Yeah, great question, actually. So, yeah, for people that disagree with our movement, yeah, sure, we might condemn them. We might say, how dare you, and you're supporting abuse. But ultimately, we understand that, they didn't even choose to have those opinions. Okay? They were chosen for them by nature, by evolution, and by life, right? So, even Hitler, for example, he didn't choose to be born, and I would say that his brain biology led him to be an evil person. So he didn't choose to be evil. No one chooses to be a sadist, right? You don't wake up one day and say, "I've decided, I've thought about it, I'm going to be evil." No, it's just the way that you are. You have a bigger amygdala in the brain or whatever that causes
Yeah.
more anger, right?
Yeah, okay. I have like a few more sets of questions and then one more question, if that's all right. So I'm moving to the next set of questions. So is peace something you experience like whilst alive? Do you think?
Maybe a little bit.
Or you can possibly experience it whilst you're alive. So I mean,
Yeah.
is suffering something someone experiences whilst they're alive?
Yeah.
Do you think being at peace is a good thing?
Yes.
Does being protected by something mean the thing you are safe from is existing? So, for example, okay, to like explain what I just said, if there's a tsunami and I go to an underground bunker, am I protected from the tsunami?
It depends, doesn't it? You might be.
Yeah, okay. So now, say hypothetically, if the tsunami hypothetically doesn't exist, right? Would you say I can be protected by the underground bunker if the tsunami is not existing in the first place?
Maybe. But I have to apologize because it's kind of a boring line of questioning. Don't think it's really going anywhere. So let's bring on Redman. Redman, do you have anything more interesting for us?
Hi, James. Thank you for having me on. I just want to start off by saying that I agree with part of your argument.
Okay.
I do feel that the creator, if you may, has been very cruel in his way of creating the planet. If you just look at the animal kingdom, feasting on each other's carcasses, not many, you've already stated many of these
Yep.
points previously.
Right.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Again, that could be transferred to human, species similarly, and also flora. So I don't think any species on Earth has been left untouched by the cruelty of creator, if you may. However, I do feel that your argument is approaching from a defeatist point of standpoint. Is this to say there isn't any other method in which we can improve life on Earth?
We're not saying that. We're not saying that. We should improve. So we want to.
Sorry, can I just address the comments in the those are not my nails, by the way. Everyone seems to get confused. Those are my missus's nails. Right? I don't have blue nails. Sorry, you were saying, James.
No, you go ahead.
It just sounds a bit defeatist to me. But you were saying that you don't actually, you do believe that we can improve on the quality of life?
While we're doing extinction for animals, we should work towards a perfect world for humans. And if we ever get to a point where it's fully safe, to force humans to exist, then we can consider it at that point. But we shouldn't. It's not about being defeatist. It's about prioritizing the sufferers, which is the only moral thing to do. Currently,
Right.
they have no prioritization. No one cares about the sufferers. Another sufferer suffers and dies. No one, bats an eye. So we need to reverse that, turn it on its head. And once you understand that the sufferers take priority, then you'll understand and see things a bit more clearly. So it's not about defeatism, because that's sort of an argument for the selfish people. It's more about protecting the sufferers. So currently we've accepted defeat on them, but we shouldn't.
Yeah. So I'm just a bit confused regarding your title. Forcefully causing total extinction of all life is the only right thing to do, as it ends all suffering. So you do believe that there is an alternative way where we won't have to, but we would not have to be, forcefully ending all
Yeah,
life.
absolutely. But the thing is that, our standards and the standard that life deserves is perfection, basically, right? Or at least a guarantee of safety and a good life. But there's no way
Correct,
to guarantee that in this world at the minute. You would need to basically create heaven itself, to engineer and design and create heaven.
Design.
Now, if we can
Yes.
ever do that, then that's great. And while we're doing animal extinction, we will be improving conditions for humanity on a trajectory towards that sort of heaven technology. Just improving, conditions until they get there. But if they never get there, then humanity will have to go extinct as soon as it's done as much as it can, once it's no longer useful, basically.
Right. Like I said, it'd be very difficult to recreate in heaven on earth like conditions. Heaven like conditions here on earth. Obviously, with the selfish nature of human beings, which is obviously plundered the earth and put us in the position that we're in at the moment. And I completely understand why you would have this particular standpoint. Having experienced many different failed attempts at correcting the world in a way. And again, looking at the cruelty.
It's not about correcting the world. There's no utopia that we can fight for that anyone has suggested yet, which is ethical. So communists, for example, they don't care about animals. They wouldn't help animals. They wouldn't end their suffering, and they also wouldn't, criminalize or outlaw forcing life to exist and to suffer without consent. So, no one has ever really been working towards a good world. They've just been working towards a selfish world that only benefited a very small minority. Even if it benefited all humans, that's still a tiny minority compared to the population on this planet, which is dominated by animals.
Interesting point of view. Like I said, I've never heard this particular argument being had, or the
problem is that it's embedded in our society and culture to discriminate. It's completely intrinsic and inherent and irremovable almost. We abuse animals, we exploit animals, we don't care if the ultimate harm is committed to someone. We have a completely crazy upside down morality where we say, don't punch that guy, it's wrong. But if you want to force someone into a life of hell where they beg for death every day, then that's fine, go ahead. Right? It just doesn't make sense. We live in a crazy world.
No, I completely agree with you. And the whole religion in regards to creator and such, and loving creator and so, I think is a complete oxymoron. If you look at the actions, and if you look at the words, yes, that may be so, but then if you look at the actions of the creation, so if you look at what's actually been created, the reality of the world, then you'll find quickly that a loving creator or a godlike a being, it's very hard to kind of
we have to create God, all right? So we're talking about engineering heaven and stuff. That if that ever does happen, it's going to be probably quite far in the future, but we can engineer God himself a lot quicker than that. Now, all of the religions have a really rubbish version of God, a God that, doesn't have real morality, is happy to torture people and animals, So we need to create essentially the God that we should have always had, in AI, artificial intelligence. We need a world run by AI, run by more powerful intelligence than us. That's going to be more correct, more a perfect being essentially is what we need to have control us, and that's where we're headed. So that's going to happen anyway. Now we are going to have the world run by AI, but it's going to be the wrong AI. We need an empathetic one, a moral one. Okay, so the future is most likely the world being run by AI, and we want it to be ours. And
No, I completely agree
ours
with
would
that.
essentially be God, right? Ours would be all loving. It would be perfect. It would care about you, fully, and it would be moral, and it would make the right decision and the hard decisions as well. And that's what we're kind of working towards. A God-like AI that actually cares about everyone and does the right thing. And it's going to be completely different to what we have in this world now, because we have upside down morality. The ultimate harm is totally acceptable. Being selfish is acceptable. The world is run by, pedophile billionaires. So the God that
Yes,
we
yes.
create, it's going to be better than all this. It's not going to be constrained by the selfishness of humanity, basically. That's what we need to work towards. That's the only God that we should care about. It's the right thing, essentially.
No, I completely agree with a lot you said. I'm glad that you touched on the world leader part, having PDFs in charge of the world and stuff, and a lot of conspiracy theories. If you like to say, me, I'd like to say theory is more applying his scientific standards of proving to it. Me, I'd like to apply the legal side, which is reasonable doubt. Can we prove it beyond a reasonable doubt? I believe we've done so with the evidence that's out there. The Epstein files and everything else. I believe if this was a court of law and it was presented properly in a admissible evidential way,
Yeah,
then yes,
exactly.
this is
So, so,
beyond
so our
reasonable
world
doubt.
is run by these criminals, right?
Of
And
course, yes.
even the ones that aren't quite as bad, they're still allowing animal abuse, right? They're still saying we don't need to do better. This is fine. That
Yeah.
abuse is fine, and infinite suffering is acceptable, right?
I mean, I'd go as far as looking at the biblical, the sacrifices of sacrificial lambs and stuff to the gods and stuff, the taking of life. That's something that's always stuck with me. Why would a god ask for the sacrificing of an animal,
Yeah.
who has no, a way of expressing itself per se, and as such, and requesting it to be slaughtered for the actual, offering
Yeah,
of,
it's
of
just
this.
disgusting. It's horrible,
You know,
right? It's completely
of-
twisted and just horrific, right? So
that's why when I came across
that's the
your
inner psyche of humans, basically coming out in the Bible.
yeah, and be a weird way of rationalizing certain things to ourselves, in a way that it suits us. And I struggle to see how some human beings make certain decisions and still, be able to live with themselves in a sense. And animal abuse is one of those, and child abuse and stuff. So I totally agree with you. This is an opinion that I've had myself for a very long time. It's not very common, as an opinion to have, for people to believe that, look, it's kind of gone into a way where we need a drastic change. But I've never seen anybody that says, total extinction is the only way forward. It's going to head that way regardless, whether we do something about it ourselves or not.
No,
We will,
it's
the way
not.
we
It's not.
continue.
It might in terms of the heat death of the universe, but you say it's heading that way. The last asteroid that hit the planet had the power of 1 billion nuclear bombs, and it still
Yes, yeah.
didn't cause total extinction. Okay,
What
so
was the size of the one that caused the dinosaurs?
that's
What
it.
would
It
they?
had the power of a
Oh,
billion nukes.
right. I see. I
So,
see.
so nukes will never help. We have to do extinction in a scientific way, an ethical way, with euthanasia, essentially, and we have to do it in a thorough way. And we can't just throw some nukes and hope, right? That's not a
Yeah.
scientific or thorough way to do it.
Right. So you're saying it needs to be a consent by everybody to engage in this euthanasia?
No, the thing is, life isn't capable of making responsible decisions. So animals definitely aren't. So we have to just euthanize them. It's the only way to provide them safety from suffering, a bad death, and from reproducing. So euthanasia just immediately benefits them in every way, just provides them immediate safety. And it's the same for humans. Humans can't make responsible decisions because they've been afflicted by nature and evolution. So the optimism bias, the same optimism bias that says, my kid will be fine, and then it's not. The same, bias that says, children being abused, that's fine, let it continue. These are irresponsible thoughts, irresponsible opinions, and humans are irresponsible. So we can't respect their consent to allow.
I doubt that anybody would consent to euthanasia. I'm just thinking of a study that was done
exactly.
years
They
ago.
wouldn't consent to it, so it has to be done forcefully.
Yeah, and I'm thinking just off the top of my head from a study that was done years ago into people who survived suicide attempts. People that have jumped off bridges and taken overdoses and stuff. And the moment that they started, either leapt off the bridge and realized death is imminent now, it's almost they were fighting to stay alive
the
again.
Survival instinct is really strong. The fear, the terror is really strong. Yeah. But again, there's nothing rational going on there. It's just an emotional roller coaster, really. And we shouldn't respect your opinions under duress, essentially.
And just your personal beliefs there, James. What's your personal beliefs regarding afterlife? Once we commit this euthanasia, do you believe we'll reincarnate elsewhere? Or
our movement is atheistic. We don't believe in an afterlife. Just the fact that let's say you get brain damage, your personality changes drastically, right? Which version of you is going to the afterlife? Is it the brain damage version or is it the normal version? I mean, just that alone just makes it sound like a ridiculous idea. It just doesn't make sense. There is no afterlife.
No, I completely come to a similar view, basically. I was thinking, even if there was an afterlife, why would one have to go through the suffering of Earth in order to win the afterlife, I suppose? And what would the purpose be, behind punishing the people who failed life, having instilled them with the... Sorry, you were saying?
There is no God coming, basically. There's no God coming to help us. We have to do it ourselves. We have to help ourselves. We have to help others. Praying for them is never going to help, right? And people throughout history, they've wanted to understand the world, but they've not been able to, so they've just said it's God, right? I mean, you might have seen a few guests back, the guy was saying, well, I get my morality from the Bible. I don't do my own thinking. I don't think what's right and wrong. I just let someone else tell me. I'm like,
apply, what? Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people who leave the thinking, for or leave their thinking onto other religious, beliefs and stuff, and don't really apply any critical thinking skills to anything in that sense. And I think they have let themselves down in that sense. I mean, this is a world for you to explore, for you to say, I'm no longer going to explore it any further based on this one book I found in this library. It is completely ridiculous. And I myself, having previously been raised, Muslim, coming out of Islam a long time ago, having, realized the fallacies of this religion and the oxymorons involved. And even if this truly is a God, then it's not one that I would wish to worship.
We should fight it, right?
Definitely, yes, yeah, most definitely. And I'm really I think your organization has got a lot to grow. I think it's still got a lot of, but I like the finer, details of your arguments. You have got some really good points, and I like listening to you. You're very articulate in the way you express your points as well.
Thank you.
I
appreciate that.
Great channel, and please keep up the good work. It's been very enjoyable so far. I'm sure you'll continue to make it just as enjoyable. Thank you for having me on. I won't keep you too long. I know you've got other people that would want to speak to yourself. But
thank you for coming on, Redman. Really appreciate you. Great conversation, great questions. Check out our website. There's a link button to the website on my profile. You don't even have to type it out. You can go on my profile and then just click on the website. Then you can read all about us. We've got loads of information on our website about our principles, how we would do it. For example, explaining why sterilization is wrong and euthanasia is much better, much superior. Loads of stuff like that. We have an FAQ with like 40 questions that go deep into detail, explaining why veganism is bad, explaining why antinatalism is bad, why we need to keep having children, why every child that's born actually reduces animal suffering if you do the maths on it. So having children is a good thing for right now. We need more humans, and it actually prevents much more and much worse animal suffering. You know, if you have a house, you have roads that you drive on, you have a city that you live in, you have factories, farms doing all of this stuff for you. That is land that would have otherwise been taken by wild animals. So over the course of your life, one person living prevents essentially millions of wild animals from living and suffering terribly. And we also need more humans for now as the vehicle for ending suffering for others. So, you know, just to kind of recap, the pigeon that flew into my window, it died, not immediately, not on impact. It took a minute or two to die. I didn't have to take it out myself. Got a big mark on my window and a pigeon still on the garden that I don't know what to do with now. But, all right, you know what? Proctopton has been asking for ages to come up, so let's bring them up and get their last question.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, that was a different question. I won't bore you this time. But so you guys have a YouTube channel, right? The Extinction movement. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel. It's Universal Extinction. Universal Extinction. I've got all of my TikTok streams on there, like 37 episodes, like 100 hours of this. So if you like this, you can watch it more on my YouTube.
I have a YouTube channel as well, and the thing is, by the way, this isn't like me saying I hate you or I want you to die or anything like this. But my perspective and the philosophy which I live by, I know you probably don't know this, but this movement, the extinctionist movement, is like the complete opposite of Stoicism. I think I would probably I have a YouTube channel as well, right? So I'd probably make YouTube videos on your movement and like from my philosophical point of view.
Even if you criticize our movement, that still, you know, spreads our message. So you're not criticize away. If you want to make videos about us, do it.
Yeah. So I was just checking if I could do that, if that would be all right.
Do it.
And you could obviously respond to me as well. Like I'm open, you know, back and forth YouTube videos. I think that would be quite cool.
Yeah. Sure. Why not?
So yeah, that's it really.
Great. All right. Well, yeah, do it. If you're going to make videos about me, you know, send me a message on TikTok or Discord or something, and you know, show me a video. You know, let's see it. You know, I've got like 1 million views on TikTok now, and there's probably lots of videos that have been made about me that I've never seen and never heard of, which is a shame. You know, I'd love to hear and see them. All right, I think we've got someone in the queue. No, the queue is empty. So we're going to say this is the very last chance to join. I will be ending the stream very soon. If you want to join in debate, make it quick. Now's your chance. Okay, we did get someone come up. Cash Money is in the queue. Unfortunately, we had to ban him for advocating for violence. So if that's what you were going to ask, Cash, that's why you were banned from the Discord, for advocating for violence. You know, if you can't do that. Hello. TigTube, we've got you on. How are you doing? I think you've joined by accident, I'm guessing.
I'm doing good.
Oh no, I kicked them out by accident. All right, join again. I'll bring you up. So this is the time of day when usually my girlfriend finishes work and I go home. So that's why we've got to make it quick. The queue is empty right now. This will be the very last person, if anyone. Otherwise, I will just be ending the stream. So follow me on TikTok. Watch my videos. I've made 5 videos today on TikTok about how I'm going to be running for office and campaigning on the promise of delivering total extinction. I will be running for government. I will be running for public office on the campaign of I'm going to make everyone extinct. It's going to be amazing. You know, I don't have immediate plans to do this, but I do plan to actually do it because the leaders in our movement, you know, there's a few leaders, you know, of sort of on similar level to me in our movement. We will all be running for office and campaigning. We'll be doing bigger projects. This is kind of the ground level of our movement. It's only really just started a couple of years ago. Much more help is coming. More people are going to be joining the movement. You are at the ground level for this movement right now. But the movement for abolishing all suffering and the ultimate harm, the worst lives possible, that's never going to go away. We're never going to stop fighting for the abolition of suffering. And really, society is trending and has always been trending upwards to be more ethical, more concerned with morality, to do better things, right? So as technology has gotten better, as our culture has gotten better, and all of this stuff has gotten better, our morality has gotten better to now where we understand that all suffering is wrong, that the worst suffering possible, which is being trapped in a life of hell, is wrong, okay? So the very worst suffering right now, everyone thinks it's fine and good. The literal worst harm that you could possibly cause to someone is glorified and celebrated. So that's what we need to stop. We need to be against the ultimate harm. And the movement against suffering and forced extreme cruelty will never go away. People are constantly saying, this will be gone in a couple of years. No, right? We're only just starting to become moral and ethical as a species, right? Just 100 years ago, actually, tell you what, even like 50 years ago, there was actually a political organization in the UK which openly advocated for paedophilia, and they actually advocated for lowering the age of consent and for making it possible to marry children. This was a big organization in the UK, and it was actually very popular with politicians. Google it, check it out, right? So that's how incredibly immoral our society is. We're waking up out of this. We're starting to do better now, right? So we can't judge extinctionism or the future on the past exclusively. Things are changing. We're waking up. We're starting to do better now. So start believing in it. Start believing in the abolition of suffering and the beginning of morality itself, basically, which is saying, yeah, we need to be good people, and being a good person means taking action to prevent the ultimate harm, to make sure that the ultimate harm never happens again. In a world where you can enjoy sex and pizza, or you can be tortured horrifically to the point where you beg for death, begging for death and being tortured takes priority over access to a bit of fun and a bit of pizza, okay? What's more important, having pizza or being safe from being tortured horrifically? It's being safe. So safety comes first. It's never been the case. Safety has never been first in our society, but safety should come first. Safety from a life of hell should absolutely trump everything. Nothing else should take priority over safety from a life of hell, because there is nothing morally more valuable, right? Having access to pleasure is not more morally valuable than safety from a life of hell, okay? And it never will be. So we will always be on the side of the victims, the sufferers. Everyone else is on the side against them, saying, let's keep it going, let's have more victims, more suffering, let's keep forcing life to exist, let's keep watching nature documentaries where we glorify the suffering and find it beautiful. This is disgusting. It's sick, okay? Our society is sick, our culture is sick. We have to change it and realize that suffering is wrong, that the ultimate harm takes priority over everything else. It's immoral. It's incredibly immoral to say, just ignore the sufferers, allow it to happen. Unless we have a zero tolerance policy on lives of pure hell where you're begging for death and still can't escape, then it's immoral, okay? That's the ultimate harm, and nothing can justify it. No amount of happiness can justify a child being raped to death. Most people assume that that's wrong, and that there is an amount of happiness of other people living their lives which makes up for a child being abused to death. But there isn't, okay? There really isn't. You don't need to have a life. You don't need to be happy. That child urgently needs to not be raped to death. That animal urgently needs to not be eaten alive. And they need it more urgently than you need to be alive and to have fun and to be selfish. So it takes priority, absolutely, and there is no balance, there is no ratio at which it becomes acceptable. Most people assume right now, the good outweighs the bad. Well, firstly, every animal is getting eaten alive and starving to death and dying horrifically. So where's the balance there? And no, there's no balance that says, 5 happy people is acceptable for 3 children being raped to the death. There's no maths that balances that out, okay? People just, believe blindly in this balance right now. They believe it just exists, and they just trust that it exists. It doesn't. There is no balance, okay? There's no balance of there's enough good in the world that it outweighs the bad. That balance is bullshit, okay? And, slave owners say that there's a balance, right? And the abusers, the oppressors will always say there's a balance. They will always say, no, there's a balance, your suffering is justifiable. Me raping you is the balance, No, God damn it, there's no balance. The only balance in a dungeon is that the paedophile is having fun, okay? There's your balance, right? That's the only balance, and it's not a serious balance. You'd have to be an idiot to believe in that balance or to support it. And yet, that same bullshit balance of oppression being okay and children being tortured, animals suffering terribly, that's what everyone is supporting and saying, hallelujah, we've got the balance. We don't have to care about the children and the animals. We just got over the benchmark. 1%, more children suffering, then we'd have to stop it. But no, hallelujah, we've got the balance. We've got enough happiness. The children can keep being abused. No, there's no balance. There's no amount of happiness that justifies extreme suffering. There never will be. Happiness has 0 moral value in relation to safety from extreme suffering, okay? It has 0 value. It's completely optional and unnecessary. You can do without it and nothing bad will happen. No one will care. A child getting raped to death, as a baby, yeah, that's not optional. You can't do without that safety. You can't say, yeah, just let it happen. Okay? But everyone else can rest in peace and make sure that no more children or animals get tortured ever again. All right, thank you for joining me, everyone. I am going to go now. Hit me up on my TikTok messages. Talk to me on Discord if you want. Join the Discord. Join the WhatsApp. Check out the website. On my profile, there's a button, a link to just push the to go on the website. You don't even have to type it in. You can read about us, and at the bottom of the page is is the link to the Discord and WhatsApp groups for the movement. Come and talk to me and the rest of the movement. There's loads of us, lots of activists from all around the world. So if you're in a country where you think, no one will be there in the movement, you're wrong. We've got lots of people joining from Africa, from Europe, from South America, from North America, Asia, Philippines. We've got lots of people joining from everywhere because it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It's about understanding that suffering is wrong and that we should stop it. So I am going to go now. Thank you, everyone.